It was on a particularly starry night, during the most celebrated time of the year, that instead of being asleep, the little town of Bethlehem was all abuzz with cheer. After all, the birthday of the King of Kings is only once a year. Commotion in the city square. Now, in the little town of Bethlehem lived the Prince of the Forest and his 5 sisters: Princess Hummingbird, Princess Bumblebee, Princess Butterfly, Princess Ladybug, and the little Princess Blossom. The prince and his 5 sisters were always fighting about who got the bigger this and who got the better that. This time they were fighting about who would give the best birthday present to the King of Kings and become his favorite. Just then, a tiny little hand tugged on Princess Butterfly's dress.
Excuse me, Miss Majesty, that's not at all what Christmas is about.
Thank you, God, for Jesus. Thank you, God, for Christmas. Thank you, God, for Jesus, the best gift in the world. I'm so happy when I see presents underneath the tree, but the best gift of all for me is a gift of Jesus. Thank you, God, for Jesus. Thank you, God, for Christmas. Thank you, God, for Jesus, the best gift in the world. Thank you, God, for Jesus, the best gift in the world.
The town's children had explained Christmas even more eloquently than a rabbi could have done himself. And yet, for all their royal education, the prince and the princesses just couldn't seem to understand what Christmas was all about.
So that night on Christmas Eve,
The prince had a dream. He dreamed that there were angels sweetly singing o'er the plains as the mountains in reply echoed their joyous strains. prince awoke with a new song in his heart and a new dance in his step. He was finally beginning to understand what Christmas meant. But the prince still hoped to find a birthday present for the King of Kings. He wanted it to be something really, really special. The princesses were still shopping too for the very best gift so that they could be the King of Kings' favorites. Suddenly, Princess Hummingbird spotted the perfect present sitting there on a merchant's shelf.
Perfect, it's perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. The perfectest perfect gift.
But it was too late. Before Princess Bumblebee could even say, "Mine," the prince had already grabbed it. Good night, Princess Bumblebee. Good night, Princess Hummingbird. Good night, Princess Blossom. Princess Blossom?
The very next morning on Christmas Day,
The whole town gathered at the King of Kings' court to decorate for the big birthday party. The ladies and lords from all over the land came bearing gifts of mistletoe and ribbons and bows.
there were 12 drummers drumming, 11 pipers piping, 10 lords a-leaping, 9 ladies dancing, 8 maids a-milking, 7 swans a-swimming, 6 geese a-laying.
On Christmas Day!
Turtle doves were cooing and calling birds seemed to be singing Christmas carols. And the prince thought to himself that it was going to be the best Christmas ever. But oh no! His gift was gone! The prince knew that the princesses must have stolen it. The prince fumed with anger, but just then, a tiny little hand tugged on the prince's robe.
Excuse me, Mr. Majesty, that's not at all what Christmas is about.
Christmas is a special time for everyone to celebrate the birth of Jesus Christ.
announced as the princesses paraded into the King of Kings' throne room. The prince quietly watched as Princess Ladybug presented the prince's gift to the King of Kings. Then the princesses bowed low and waited for the King of Kings to honor them. And they waited and waited and waited. But their gift was not received, for the King of Kings explained that he had no use for their gift, for he already owned everything, including the sun, moon, and stars. So the prince got an idea and decided that since the King of Kings owned everything, that he could probably use some help with all that. So the prince presented his own servant as a gift and bowed low before the King of Kings and waited and waited and waited. But the prince's gift was not received, for the King of Kings explained that the only servants he has are his friends, and they all follow him of their own will, not someone else's. Confused, the prince asked the King of Kings, if not possessions or favors, then what would he like for his birthday? Pointing to a large empty wooden box, the king suggested that perhaps he could make use of it. Without delay, the prince instructed his servant to bring the box quickly and present it to the King of Kings, who is full of grace, mercy, love, and who is altogether self-sufficient. Then the King of Kings asked the prince a simple question.
Look inside the box, tell me, what do you see?
The prince looked into the box and said,
I see only an empty box.
So the king asked him another question.
Do you think that an empty box is a gift fit for such a king?
The prince replied that no, such a king deserves far more than anyone has in their possession to give. So the king asked a third question.
Then what could one give to a king who has everything?
Then the prince took off his crown and placed it on his servant's head. He took off his robe as well and placed it on his servant's back. Then he slipped off his signet ring and placed it on his servant's hand. The prince's faithful servant bowed low before the prince, who now looked like an ordinary man. The prince, turning to the King of Kings, said,
Everything in heaven and in earth is yours, so my life is not my own. I am yours, will you take me as I am?
Then the prince stepped into the box and waited to see if the King of Kings would receive his very best gift.
There's no greater gift than the love you give. Here I stand in awe of you. You lay down your life so that I may live. Here I give my all
prince's very best gift, stepped down from his mighty throne and came towards the prince, and taking his hand, he said,
Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Come live in my house as my friend, for all that I have is yours. And just as I am my Father's son, so also are you.
Suddenly, the prince, filled with joy, leaped from the box and embraced the King of Kings with a hug so big that the bigness of all hugs thereafter are measured by that one hug. When the prince and the King of Kings had finished their unforgettable hug, the prince remembered his poor, humbled sisters, and scanning the room, there he saw them. Tears flooded their eyes, and they trembled as they approached the king. The sisters had never before seen such a display of love as what the King of Kings had shown to their brother. Throwing herself at the king's feet, Princess Blossom cried,
There is one day in your house than 1,000 days anywhere else. There is one gift from your hand than 1,000 things, just as I planned. I sing to the one that I give my praise to Jesus, Lord, I adore you with all of my heart. I thank you. I thank you. For Christmas, I want to give him my heart. For Christmas, I want to give him my all. For the one who gave, I'm forever grateful. For the day he paid, I'm forever thankful for Christmas. Of all the things I like to receive, of all the gifts I want under my tree, I want the biggest gift of all, God's love. Of all the gifts I like to give, of all the presents on my Christmas list, I want the biggest gift of all to be God's love. God's love. For Christmas, I give you my heart. For Christmas, I give you my all. For Christmas, I give you the best. For Christmas, I want you to be blessed.
the King of Kings was blessed indeed. Princess Hummingbird was so overjoyed that she loudly proclaimed to the whole court that this was a celebration like no other, for Jesus was born, and today he is alive in our hearts as